Hey there, guys. Hello, wellness coaches, wellness entrepreneurs, health coaches, functional medicine practitioners, etc. I wanted to kick off today with talking about pricing and go over just a little visual. You will see in the comments below that I actually put what I call some basic pricing. I've been talking to a ton of coaches. I actually did a Clubhouse last night talking to a bunch of coaches in Health Coach United group about getting to that six-figure mark. How do we actually build our empire to be able to either quit our 9-to-5, leave the job that we want to leave and pursue our dream? So I wanted to jump right in and show these visuals. I know that sometimes it can be extremely overwhelming to figure out how to get there. And so I wanted to just take some time and show you how that is possible. Okay, so let's just look at this. One thing I always do is say, take out your calculator. I can't tell you how many times I hear this mistake is that coaches are extremely clear on what they offer. They've worked with a business coach. They've worked with a virtual assistant. Their packages look beautiful, but they have no clarity on how they can do their pricing model to be able to achieve the consistent months financially that you need. And so it doesn't always come from just a higher ticket package. We, of course, want to have a higher ticket package because that ensures that we're going to have that consistency financially. But always keep this in mind. The reason that you see me do either a lower cost option, such as a self-paced program, or you see group coaching, or you even see a masterclass, is because not everyone is going to have that trust right away to hire you for your higher ticket. We know, you and I know, that nothing just gets fixed in a single session. But one of the reasons that Brendan Bouchard teaches his High Performance Academy to have an entry session, the lower cost option, is so that you can upsell to that higher ticket and wow that person. So I want you to just write down your pricing model. I want you to first look at this visual. I wanted to create this because too often coaches ask, where are people going to find me? How am I going to get hired? This is the biggest question I think that everyone asks, because we know there's a plethora of information out there on your digital marketing, Facebook ads, social media strategy. But the big crazy question that everyone ever feels and struggles with is, how do they find me? So I want you to think about this. Building your list is like your wedding list. It is very important. I can't tell you how many coaches that come to me and say, I've bought your programs, or I've worked with this business coach. I've created my freebie. I created my workshop and my webinar. But how are they going to find me? Guys, it's imperative to have an email list. One of the platforms that I know all of you guys love, so if you're brand new, Flowdesk is an amazing platform, very easy to use and very versatile. Another inexpensive platform is MailerLite, but you need to have a website completed for them to approve you. That's one of the things I actually like about MailerLite, but it's also definitely one of the negatives if you don't have your site built. Podcast. It doesn't mean you have to have a podcast, but you do need to be on podcast. This is one thing that we know is proven. If you're scared to get on a podcast, if you're scared to pitch your services, what I can tell you is that confidence booster is to have a freebie from us that appeals to your niche, that is a reflection of how you teach, or a workshop that you can turn into a PDF. And so when you're pitching to a podcast or you're pitching for a speaking opportunity, you have tangible info that you can actually supply. Hence being able to say, I specialize in. I teach the following. It's part of my signature process. It's part of how I teach, which is number 1, number 2, number 3. Those can be your 3 workshops that you always hear me talk about. Those can be your 3 freebies. They are a reflection of your teaching. They are also an immediate problem solver. So if you're pitching to a podcast, you can say, when I come on, I'm going to, go into detail about repairing your period, or I'm going to go into detail about endocrine disruptors. And I'm also going to give this gift to your listeners. Make a page that says X podcast so that you can actually track how many people come into your list from that. It doesn't have to be a crazy fancy long page, guys. It just has to be collecting emails. The same goes for speaking. People aren't going to have you speak or want you to speak unless what? You have a very specific topic. It's a problem and a solution, and that you're also pitching to them. This is how I can be of service to your list. This is how it would benefit your office. Always talk about their benefits, but what allows you to, of course, get to this 6-figure path is you need that visibility. Say it with me. I need that visibility. Next, we go into social media. There's not this one perfect channel for social media. If you hate Instagram, guess what? Instagram is not going to love you back. If you feel that you are dying trying to make TikTok, don't do it. You have to find the platform and the medium that works the best for you. And then, of course, look at your own analytics. You can, of course, do this on all different platforms. You can look at your impressions and your reach on Pinterest or YouTube, or you can also start to ask people, where have you found me? Still to this day, I do Facebook ads. That's a big money maker for me. But guess what, guys? Since I built my business in 2010, people would always say to me, I happened to be Googling and I found you. That's because I had videos on YouTube. That's because I had content on Facebook business page, which has a great relationship with Google. Ding, ding, ding. What has a great relationship with Google? It doesn't mean you shouldn't be posting on LinkedIn or Instagram if you want, but find the platform where you feel the most comfortable and you have good communication, good conversations. The conversation is the conversion. That means maybe you're posting on Instagram and you don't have tons of likes. Fuck the likes. Seriously. Think, are you actually having conversations? Because the conversation when somebody actually messages you is where you convert. Email list or not. It's where you build the trust. It's where you can connect with that person and actually get down and dirty on what are your problems, what inspired you to reach out to me, and actually have that real conversation in real time. Also, referrals from friends. It's scary to ask for referrals. It's very scary. I was extremely petrified, and I felt, what is this person going to think of me if I ask for a referral? But those people who love you, people who are also your own doctors, your health food store that you go to, your own wellness center that you go, you have to ask. If you don't ask, shame on you. It's scary to ask, but guess what? People who support you and believe in you are going to be your biggest referral network. Then let's move on to, of course, Facebook, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads. There's now, Twitter campaigns that can be done. There's a lot of different places, YouTube ads to, of course, Pinterest ads. And then, of course, retarget with a Facebook ad. Tons of different places to do ads. Find out where your ideal client hangs out. Do your market research and ask people. If you don't ask, shame on you. It's a very simple thing. You have to do the market research and be like, hey, where do you find your information? Where do you like consuming information? Moving on to the next part, networking. Guys, nobody likes putting themselves out there unless you're a complete extrovert. An extrovert, which I'm not. I am a very friendly person. I love to connect with people, especially one-on-one. But I get a little panic doing those networking, but it's something where we need to practice that muscle. Whether you're networking offline, whether you're networking online, which means that you are partnering with people, doing interviews with people, networking and building those core relationships, that's going to be important because that's also where referrals are going to come. Then you have JV partnerships. JV partnerships mean joint venture. This is something that I did, and it was the crux of my business. And thank God for it, because that's where I got so many referrals in those early stages where we're all a little starving. We're building a business. If it was easy, everyone would do it and have success. But it takes those who have grit, persistence, and a clear goal. And those who are successful don't get caught up in the perfection. We have the inner critic. We have the fear of imposter syndrome. We have the fear that people are going to think we're stupid or that we're not going to say it right. We have all those fears, but we do it anyway. And so when you're reaching out for JV, again, it's a conversation. This is how I can benefit you. I would love to come in and partner with you, promote you, host a group program. I did group programs. I did classes. I did free classes, knowing that I was building that know, like, and trust factor. Guys, it's not just about posting on social media. We need to engage in those conversations. We need to not just do the busy work of sitting in Canva for hours. That's one of the reasons we create done for you content, is so that you can start your business without spending so much energy in the creation. Or for those of you that are fully booked and you're leveraging, of course, you don't have time to do it anyway. But that's also one of the reasons, is you have to get yourself out there. Put that inner critic to bed and say, girl, you ain't talking to me today. Digital marketing. Digital marketing isn't just your social media. These are videos that you do. This is where you're getting yourself visible. For some of you, it is an on-demand webinar. For some of you, you're doing organic marketing without, any paid platforms. But you have to, of course, engage in the digital marketing, even if you're working with people one-on-one. If you want to go beyond your backyard and you want to be able to have more reach, the digital marketing space is where you're going to be able to do that. And that's why you'll always hear me say, I'm not a master really at YouTube, but what I do is I made sure that I addressed big problems. I talked about specific topics. I got specific so that my ideal client knew that they could come to me and there was a plethora of information about gut, toxins, mindset, emotional trauma, PTSD, candida, parasites, spectrum related issues, and the list goes on. Then, of course, we have articles, media, PR. Guys, I have, learning issues. I have a lot of kind of dyslexia type, reading and also writing. But guess what? I submitted articles. It was uncomfortable. It was scary, but I did it to Elephant Journal. I did it to Mind Body Green. I submitted articles to a bunch of other Ripe and Learn. I wrote even articles for local magazines. And that opportunity came to me because of networking. And so when you think about getting visible, I took that chance. I took that time to do that. I also enrolled in courses that helped me to understand how to pitch to media. And if you don't sign up for HARO, which is HARO, and see these opportunities, you're probably selling yourself short. I also, of course, wrote in local magazines, publications, and people came to me for these opportunities. Again, because of my digital marketing visibility. And that didn't mean that I've ever edited videos, never did. Had shitty lighting? Yes, I had shitty lighting. I couldn't afford a Diva ring light, which you'll see even right here, until later in the game. But guess what? I went to Home Depot because I searched on Google and found out that I could have pretty good lighting if I did this mock, lighting. And that's exactly what I did. I hacked a lot of things, and I'm telling you this because I see every coach sitting in perfection, comparing them to the successful entrepreneur or the guru or the coach that has the money to invest in those things. I did not. So if you're sitting there saying, I can't figure out my lighting, so I can't do this, guess what? Go and do it in light or do it outside, do the video, get out of your way, because you're only going to get that media and that PR by doing it. I also, of course, had programs and visibility that those media channels were going and saying, wow, look at her. She's got these videos. She's got this she's got this detox, which was mine. She has this paleo program, which was mine on Rachel's Wellness. I had a 60-day grain-free program, juice, tons of freebies in all these places. So to them, they, of course, want to feature somebody with that visibility. Furthermore, when people asked me to do anything that had to do with media, they could easily go and search and see on a Facebook business page, I was consistent. The last part of that, before I move on to the next, is that's how I actually got the teaching gig at Hippocrates, which I taught there for close to 6 years. It's because they found a video on YouTube and they called and said, we have a lot of business people come in, but like, you're an actual coach talking about coaching. Can you come and teach? So opportunities don't just fall in our lap. They come to us because we take that chance to push through the perfection and the fear, and we do it scared. So now we're going to talk, how do they get to you? It doesn't matter if you are doing a high ticket, a masterclass, membership, groups, high ticket offers, one-on-one. Guess what? People most often need to connect with you. We all love automation. We all love funnels, which is an automated conversation. But in the beginning, and for most of us, we do need that conversation to close the sale. So all of these sources can, of course, lead to a freebie. That person comes and downloads and comes to a download page. You can have a video introducing yourself, talking about that freebie, the benefits, the promise, and right under you can have that freebie. You can, of course, on the follow-up, lead to a one-on-one call, a discovery call. Get specific. Don't just say sign up for a discovery call. Most of our clients don't even know what that is. They're like, a what? You're like, here, click here and let's fix your gut. Let's see if we're a good match to work with each other. Moving on. The goal is we're booking to a paid offer. Sometimes you've got to nourish that relationship. I had somebody contact me yesterday, and this is not uncommon. I could have said this happened like 500 times in my wellness practice. She said, we spoke a year ago, and all I've been thinking about, I wasn't ready to work with you, but I desperately need you in my life. That's not uncommon, guys. If you think that everyone is just going to purchase right away, it's not how human behavior is. Think psychology. Think about your ideal client avatar. People will buy when they know the value of that transformation. But most people have to watch you and see that you consistently show up. So if you let that inner critic and that mindset stop you from consistently showing up, you're the only one that's really to blame. And I don't say that to be rude. I say that to just be real. So sales call to paid offer. You're going to know from this pre-qualifying, which I talked about, this step-by-step 2-part series of discovery calls on the Healthy Hustle podcast. So if you're like, what do you mean pre-qualifying questions? Hop on over to our Healthy Hustle podcast. You can find it on iTunes and listen to the ones on discovery calls. I give you the exact formula and the verbiage and the template. So you're going to know exactly the problems when that person gets on that call. You're already going to have a good sense because you're taking charge of your discovery call of what that offer is. You might even need to do discovery calls after a webinar because somebody wants to know if they're the right fit for your group. You're going to have a huge majority of people that already are like, oh, I know you, I trust you, I want to buy from you. But maybe even for a group, you have to get people on a discovery call. So what if you take 7, 15 to 20-minute sessions out of your day? Because to increase that conversion, it's worth it. Trust me. And if you're working 9 to 5, or you're working a full-time job, or you're a stay-at-home mom and you're doing this, you find the time. You carve out that time on a Saturday afternoon, or you carve out that time on one night a week, and you create healthy boundaries for yourself so that you can increase your revenue, change lives, and build your 6-figure system. Of course, then you're going to go over pricing, and you're going to handle objections. You're going to know the right fit for these offers. Some of you are doing one-on-one. Some of you are doing groups. Some of you are high ticket. Some of you are low cost. Some of you do membership. Some of you do self-paced. There's not a right or wrong. Some of you totally work offline. Not a right or wrong. You just need to know what is the right offer for that person and be specific. You can have, of course, a single session, like I talked, the Brendan Bouchard model. That single session, everything is always upselling to that next offer. If somebody does a single session for you, and you will see on, of course, the information I put down below this video, that you can price that between like 97 to 150, 150 to 550. I have clients that only do single sessions, and they're 397 a pop. But she is fully booked, and she has a membership, and she also has a group intensive, and she also has a mentorship. Sometimes you're going to have different models than what everyone says to you. It's not about following the perfect path. It's about tapping into intuition and being in total fucking alignment with what you want to do. There's not a right or wrong. So you can have a single session, you could have a 30-day jumpstart, a 90-day mastery. That could be a high intensive, for example, with 10 women times 497. 497 times 10, that's 4,970. Say you wanted to do that for, a month, or say your pricing is more for 3 months for that. If you looked at a 997 for 3 months times 10 women, you just hit 10,000. Some of you are going to actually do VIP days or retreats. Each one of you are called to coach in a different type of way. And so there's not a right or wrong. You just have to know what your pricing model is so you can actually get there. Some of you love doing groups, and some of you have thriving memberships. But it's really important to know what your single session cost is so you can figure out a VIP day. A lot of people ask me, what do you do in a VIP day? It's being with somebody for 5 to 6 hours. For me, I typically did them offline. I would go into somebody's house. We would go shopping. We would clean out all the stuff in the house. We would create suggested meals for the family, for the kids, if there was allergies. That's a VIP. It's when somebody doesn't want to do ongoing coaching. They want to do an intensive, or I would come into somebody's house. We would do raw foods, or we would do healthy paleo foods, and make it so that there was a VIP intensive. Sometimes, of course, I would see the whole family. But that was a really beautiful way of connecting with a person who maybe time was their objection, or that they didn't know what they were doing in 3 months. No problem. I knew that 150 hour at that time was my hourly. And I knew if I was there for 6 hours, that was a $900 day. You can also, of course, look at just your hourly price as an essential, because how are you going to know what you're going to charge for talks? How are you going to know how to equate your time equity? I mean, your time when you're actually saying, is it worth it for me to spend time here? Is that actually equal to my time? If I'm spending 5 hours on my time, all right, 5 hours to create something, that's $750. My pricing, of course, went up to be $550 at the end stages of my business. And I, of course, had packages for $2,500 a month. I had packages for $5,000 a month. And of course, I can get into that on another day of what that includes. Know what your packages include. Don't just say, this is what you get in time. People need to know what's included. Imagine you're buying a car. I always talked about this example. What is the base model to the sport? you're just not going to go for the sport model, which is maybe like hundreds more in your financing per month. You're going to say, what's included? You want to know the specifics. Your client is no different. No different. So if you don't know what's included and you can't describe that to a person and have that flowing conversation, it's going to be really hard to convert as well. That's how you take charge of your discovery session. You know what that person, you have an idea of what that person needs. Instead of feeling scared, you're going to feel scared, but guess what? Know your offers. You're only going to get to the place of comfort by practicing those muscles. You can have a 90-day group upsell. You can do it yourselves. And I encourage you, let me just go down to this before we stop. I encourage you, of course, to opt into this freebie that I have in that link. I have a 60K, 85K, and 100K map like this. It doesn't mean that these are the exact numbers that you're going to use. Each one of them show a little different of a format. Each one of them have different pricing models, but you have to know your goals, and you have to know how to get there so that so that you're able to actually figure out your pricing model, and you're able to figure out what do you need to have as your non-negotiables each month to get to the financial mark that you need. For those of you who are doing functional medicine testing, I'll just give another option before we close out. There's no reason that you can't do a single session with the test involved. Some of you do GI tests for about $550. Well, great. If you charge, $250 for your session, and you're charging $550 for the test, that's an $800. If you, of course, want to add to 225 or 250 times 2, which is 500 plus 550. If you wanted to have a start session and then an end session after you have the test results, great, that's 1,050. If you wanted to have 2 sessions and that person, of course, took the test first and you were able to do a session to kick them off and then a session to do follow-up a month later, that's a very simple way of also creating another type of entry for somebody to work with you. Not everyone is right, I believe this, for coaching in the way that either we were taught or how we see traditional coaching. Sometimes it's not uncommon that you go to a functional medicine practitioner and that you are buying in session packages, almost like if you were going to a trainer. You want to do 3 sessions, 6, 10 sessions. And so expand the possibilities with an infinite mindset instead of a finite. Sometimes you're going to hear so many different models and blueprints. At the end of the day, know your 3 different types of packages that you appeal to your ideal client avatar, their buyer, their psychology of the buyer, and the pricing model to give them different options. At the end of the day, when you create an offer suite, this is a word that we hear more in marketing, you're creating a value ladder. So you have your low offer. Ideally, they're upselling to that next offer if they need it. And so that you're never leaving yourself in a place where you're not making money consistently. And most importantly, lastly, I know I just said that one was last, is know your year. What do I mean by that? It means that most people in August travel in the US. Historically, when most people take their vacations and they don't come really back to focus on taking care of themselves until about September when their kids go back to school. Know that also December is very similar to that. Know that the beginning parts of January, whichever way that you have your business set up, if it's brick and mortar, yes, a lot of people start January 1st, but a lot of people also wait until their kids come back. If, of course, your ideal client doesn't have kids, guess what? Psychology of people is that we are conditioned from our habits. And so most people will even not jump into something in the spring because even if they are in their 50s, they are like, oh, well, you know what? We're going on break. we're taking our vacation, and you will see that most people historically will even take vacations around that same time. So make sure that you know what are the times that you also maybe need to have lower cost offers or do shorter offers, or make sure that you're enrolling somebody, you know, in October to ensure that you have that 3 month for November and December. Really think like a business owner. And sometimes you're going to have to pivot. This last year was a lot of pivoting for even the best out there. Amy Porterfield, James Wedmore, Ryan Dice, I think, always pivots, but you saw there was a lot of pivoting in this last year where people who had very high ticket offers actually went down to a lower cost model. Doesn't mean it's forever. It means that we have to evolve our business with time. We have to look at how people are affected by economy, financial, news, media, the market, the stock market. Don't think that it's just you. Sometimes we have to really take a step back and see where we're failing in our entrepreneurial vision instead of just thinking it's about the program, the offer, or we're not doing enough. I hope that this was really helpful to anybody that may be stuck or wondering how to actually create that system so that you leverage, so that you grow, no matter if you're starting or you're scaling. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys. I'm off to the gym and I will see you guys later. If you have any questions, of course, always go to yourhealthcoachbiz.com, drop a message in there. If you haven't listened to The Healthy Hustle, definitely go and listen. Some of the people that I have on there are really, that's unbelievable. Great stories, success stories of real coaches who did it as solo entrepreneur. And I would say for 90% of you, that's where you are. The 10%, they've got teams. They've got virtual assistants and a lot of, different paid ads. But for 90% of you, listen to real coaches that, did it on their own. Not that everyone isn't a real coach, but I want you to know that it's possible even without perfection. With that being said, I'm going to peace out. Have a beautiful Wednesday, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.